Most people don't fail because their goals are too big. They fail because they're chasing them the wrong way. Right now, there's a hidden pattern separating the small percentage of people who achieve extraordinary results from the millions who stay stuck, year after year. And the uncomfortable truth is, if you don't recognize that pattern, you'll keep working hard while watching someone else move ahead with less effort. You probably think success comes down to motivation, talent, or luck. It doesn't. In fact, one simple psychological shift can make you progress faster in the next 90 days than you've made in the last 2 years. Almost no one talks about it because it challenges everything you've been taught about achievement. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand the exact mindset and system that allow top performers to reach their goals faster than 95% of people. And once you see it, you'll never approach your goals the same way again. Let's start with the biggest lie most people believe about success. But wait, before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment, "I subscribe," below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. In 1979, researchers at Harvard asked graduating MBA students one question. Have you set clear, written goals for your future, and made plans to achieve them? 3% said yes. 13% had goals, but never wrote them down. The rest had no goals at all. 10 years later, they tracked those same students down. The 13% who had goals, but never wrote them, were earning twice as much as the 84% with no goals at all. But the 3% who wrote their goals down? They were earning, on average, 10 times as much as everyone else in the room combined. Same intelligence, same degree, same starting line. 10 times the result. This video is not going to tell you to dream big or believe in yourself. That advice is why most men are still stuck. What you're about to learn is the actual mechanism, the psychology, the neuroscience, and the exact system that separates the men who finish what they start from the men who are still figuring it out 5 years from now. Let's talk about David. David is 31. He's smart, capable, and every January he writes the same 3 lines in his notes app. Get in shape, save more money, start that business. By March, the Notes app is untouched. By December, he writes the same 3 lines again. David isn't lazy. David is a victim of a design flaw, one that almost every man carries, and almost nobody names. Here's the flaw. The human brain does not pursue goals. Pursues identity. This comes from a concept in psychology called self-perception theory, developed by Daryl Baim in the 1970s. The core idea is simple but devastating. People don't act based on who they want to become. They act based on who they currently believe they are. Every choice is a vote for a version of yourself. And if that internal identity doesn't match the goal will lose. Every time. This is why David can want a fit body with total sincerity, and still skip the gym. Somewhere underneath the wanting, David believes he is the guy who starts things and doesn't finish them. That belief is older and stronger than any resolution. It was built over years. Every broken promise to himself, every abandoned habit, reinforced it a little more. And beliefs that are repeated become identity. Identity, not motivation, drives behavior. This is the hidden truth almost nobody tells you. Motivation was never your problem. Identity mismatch was. Here's the second reason goals fail. And it's purely mechanical. Most goals are outcomes, not systems. I want to lose 20 pounds is an outcome. It gives your brain a destination with no map. This distinction has been popularized in recent years, but the underlying research goes back further, to behavioral scientists studying why outcome-focused goals consistently underperform process-focused ones. When you focus only on the outcome, every day that doesn't visibly move the needle feels like failure. And repeated feelings of failure trigger something specific in the brain, a drop in dopamine sensitivity, which lowers your motivation to try again tomorrow. It's a downward spiral built into the structure of the goal itself. The men who succeed do the opposite. They don't fall in love with outcomes. They fall in love with systems, the daily, repeatable, boring actions that make the outcome inevitable. We'll build yours in a moment. But first, one more piece of the puzzle, because this is the part that explains why smart, capable men smarter than the people who succeed, still lose. There's a phenomenon in behavioral economics called temporal discounting, sometimes called present bias. It means the human brain values a smaller reward right now dramatically more than a larger reward later, even when the math makes no sense. This isn't a character flaw. It's wiring. For most of human history, later was uncertain. You could be dead, injured, or the resource could be gone. So the brain evolved to grab certainty now. The problem is that in a modern world, this ancient wiring sabotages long-term goals constantly. Scrolling for 20 minutes feels better right now than a workout that pays off in 3 months. A payday loan feels better right now than a savings plan that pays off in 10 years. Every single day, your brain is running a rigged auction between future you and present you you has home field advantage. This is the real reason willpower fails. Willpower is you trying to consciously override an ancient, automatic bias using a finite resource, your prefrontal cortex, which research on decision fatigue consistently shows gets worse under stress, fatigue, and decision overload. By 8 p.m., after a full day of decisions, the average man has almost nothing left to fight present bias with. That's not weakness. That's neuroscience. So here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot out-discipline your own brain wiring using motivation alone. The men who achieve goals faster than everyone else aren't more disciplined in the way you think. They've simply removed the moment where willpower is required. They've engineered their environment and their systems so the winning choice is also the easy choice. This is the actual difference between the top 5% and everyone else. Not talent. Not motivation. Design. Let's build the system. 4 parts. Each one solves a specific failure point we just covered. Part 1. Identity first goal setting. Before you write a single goal, answer this question. What would the man who already has this result do today? Not someday. Today. If you want to be financially disciplined, ask what the financially disciplined version of you does with the next paycheck. If you want to be physically strong, ask what that version of you does at 6 a.m. tomorrow. This flips the mechanism from self-perception theory in your favor. Instead of waiting to feel motivated, you act first, and the action itself becomes evidence for a new identity. Every small action is a vote. Enough votes and the identity shifts. This is backed by research on behavior change showing that identity shifts follow repeated behavior far more reliably than behavior follows a shift in mindset. You don't think your way into a new identity. You act your way into one. Part 2. Implementation intentions. This is one of the most well-supported findings in behavioral psychology, developed by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer. The research shows that people who form a specific if-then plan are dramatically more likely to follow through than people who simply intend to do something. Here's the difference. I'm going to work out more is an intention. It has no trigger. If it is 6:15 a.m. on a weekday, then I put on my running shoes before I check my phone, is an implementation intention. It has a specific cue and a specific response. Your brain doesn't have to make a decision in the moment, a decision it's likely to lose, given present bias and depleted willpower. It just has to execute a rule that was already decided the night before, when your prefrontal cortex was fresh and rational. Write every goal this way. If a specific trigger happens, then a specific action follows. This single shift accounts for a huge percentage of the gap between people who follow through and people who don't. Part 3. The minimum viable action. Most men set goals so large that the first step feels intimidating, which triggers avoidance. The fix is what I call the minimum viable action, the smallest version of the habit that still counts, that you could do even on your worst day. Not read for an hour. Read 1 page. Not write a business plan. Write 1 sentence. This works because of a principle sometimes called the Zeigarnik effect. The mind has a strong pull to finish what it starts, and starting is the highest friction part of any task. Once you're doing 1 push-up, you almost always do more. The goal of the minimum viable action isn't the action itself, it's guaranteeing that you show up every day, without exception, so the identity from Part 1 never breaks. Part 4. Environmental engineering. This is where you stop relying on willpower altogether. Behavioral scientists have shown repeatedly that environment predicts behavior more reliably than intention does. If your phone is on your nightstand, you will check it before you get up. If junk food is in the house, you will eventually eat it, not because you're weak, but because proximity and friction control behavior more than conscious willpower does over time. So you engineer the environment to make the goal-aligned choice the path of least resistance. Gym clothes laid out the night before. Junk food not purchased in the first place. Phone charging in another room. You are not trying to become a man with more willpower. You're building a life where you need less of it. Here's what almost nobody tells you about goal achievement. The results are invisible for far longer than they should be, and that's exactly why most people quit right before the payoff. Progress compounds. It doesn't accumulate in a straight line, it accumulates exponentially, which means for a long stretch of time, the visible output looks almost identical to doing nothing at all. This is true in the gym, in a bank account, in a skill, in a business. The men who quit at week 6 aren't wrong about their effort. They're wrong about the shape of the curve. They expected linear results and got exponential ones, which are flat, then flat, then flat, and then suddenly steep. This is why the identity-first approach matters so much more than most men realize. If your motivation depends on visible results, you will quit during the flat part of the curve, which is most of it. If your motivation is anchored to identity, I'm someone who shows up regardless, the flat part of the curve doesn't threaten you. You're not measuring yourself by the outcome yet. You're measuring yourself by the evidence you're stacking. This is also the real answer to why 95% of people never get there. It's not that they lack the intelligence or the opportunity. It's that they quit during the flat part of a curve that was about to bend upward. The 5% aren't smarter. They're the ones who kept showing up when there was no evidence yet that it was working. So here's what to do the moment this video ends. Don't write a new goal. Write one implementation intention, one specific if-then plan for tomorrow morning. Identify the minimum viable version of it, small enough that missing it would be almost impossible. And remove one piece of friction from your environment tonight, before you go to sleep. That's it. That's the whole system. Not more motivation. Not a better mindset. A better mechanism. The gap between you and the top 5% was never about talent, and it was never about willpower. It's about whether you're operating on identity or emotion, on systems or outcomes, on design or discipline you don't actually have yet. You now know the mechanism most men never learn. What you do with it in the next 24 hours is the only thing that matters. If this gave you a piece of the puzzle you were missing, subscribe, because next week I'm breaking down the exact framework high performers use to make decisions under pressure, and you'll want that one too. Let me know in the comments, what's the one goal you're finally going to build a system for? I read every comment, and I'll reply to as many as I can.